15 ordinary items that are evidence of extraordinary events. Museums are home to a multitude of wonders. There are museums for art, architecture, history, science, and technology. You can even find more specialized museums dedicated to the printing press, soft drinks, sports, and even international tragedies. Museums are where we go to remember where we came from, what we as a global people have achieved, and sometimes to catch a glimpse of where we might be heading. However, if you are like most people, sometimes a trip to the local museum can be a bit, well, boring. I mean, how many times can you look at the bones of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and be full of wonder? After all, didn't we just see one with all its skin just a year ago in that movie Jurassic World? I know, not quite the same thing, but for a younger child, it might not be all that different. But believe me, there are still wonders to be found in the museum. New discoveries are still being made every day. This big blue marble we call home hasn't given up all its secrets just yet. What if I was to tell you that there are tons of museums spread out across the world, some a little off the beaten path, where you can still find little-known artifacts that are guaranteed to make you take note? Well, rejoice, because I am here to say just that. Below, I have compiled a list of some fascinating artifacts, some seemingly everyday items that stand as evidence of some unbelievable occurrences that might end up terrifying you once you think about them. These aren't locked away in some research lab or vault, they are all on display and can be readily viewed on your next vacation. So take note and enjoy 15 ordinary items that are evidence of some extraordinary events. 15. Tjipetir Mystery Blocks. On display in the Raken Museum, in Terschelling, Netherlands is a curious-looking rubbery block, dark in color, rectangular with rounded corners, about the size of kitchen chopping board. Engraved on the front of the block is the word, Tjipetir. For many years, these rubber-like blocks have been washing up on shores along the United Kingdom and Europe. Sometimes they are found with bales of rubber washed up nearby. The word, Tjipetir, is the name of a rubber plantation in West Java, Indonesia, from the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The blocks are not entirely rubber, but gutta percha, the gum of a tree indigenous to Malaysia and the Malay Peninsula. There has been speculation that these blocks could be coming from the wreckage of an old cargo ship. The ship's manifest uncovered that the legendary Titanic herself was carrying gutta percha blocks as well as bales of rubber. Another possibility is that these mysterious rubber-like blocks are from the Japanese ocean liner Miyazaki Maru, which was sunk in World War I. That vessel had also been known to be carrying these blocks. The Miyazaki Maru was on her way to London when she was sunk on May 31, 1917, near the Scilly Isles, off the southwestern tip of Great Britain. The Japanese ship was sunk by German submarine U-88, captained by famous U-boat ace Walter Schwieger, the man who also sank the RMS Lusitania in 1915. Some years ago, salvagers located the Miyazaki Maru and possibly released the rubber-like cargo while searching for other valuables, though blocks had been reportedly found many years prior to the salvage. Oceanographers believe wherever this flotsam originated from, is being circulated via the ocean currents, and it is entirely possible that similar pieces will continue to wash ashore for another 100 years. 14. Legend of the Red Ghost. Residing in the U.S. Army Quartermaster Museum at Fort Lee, Virginia, is an interesting bronze collar bell, approximately 3.7/8 across and about 3.75 high. The bell displays the image of American eagles with a shield, banner, and starbursts. This odd little bell is evidence of a strange experiment conducted by the U.S. Army in the 1850s. The camel is a truly adaptable animal, able to thrive in almost any terrain. The U.S. Army thought they would be perfect for a pack train to move supplies from Texas across to the West Coast. The U.S. Army purchased some from overseas and began to train them for the project. However, the Civil War interrupted the experiment and the camels were released, some sold at auction, some just turned loose. That brings us to the legend of the Red Ghost. It was 1883, at a ranch near Eagle Creek, Arizona. Two men rode out to check on livestock, leaving their wives alone at the ranch. The women heard barking dogs and a horrible scream. They looked out and saw a large, reddish beast run out of view with some strange demon on its back. The horrified women locked themselves indoors and told their husbands upon their return. That night, the body of a woman was found, trampled to death nearby. Near the body were cloven hoof prints and reddish tufts of hair. Sightings continued for months and no one was sure to make of the creature. Finally, a rancher sighted and killed the beast, and then recognized it for what it was, a camel. The demon on its back turned out to be the skeletal remains of a rider who had unfortunately been strapped onto its back. 13. Karen Silkwood's purse. On November 13, 1974, 28-year-old labor activist Karen Silkwood was killed in an apparent car accident. However, mystery has surrounded her death ever since when it was revealed she was about to go public about hazardous conditions at a nuclear plant. Silkwood's purse, recovered from the scene of her fatal crash, is now displayed at the Museum of the Gulf Coast, in Port Arthur, Texas. Silkwood is remembered as one of the great whistleblowers in modern history. Her purse is a reminder. In the early 1970s, Silkwood worked as a technician at Carnegie's Cimarron plutonium plant near Crescent, Oklahoma. Her job included polishing fuel rods filled with radioactive plutonium. She was involved with the union and was tasked with investigating plant safety issues. In the summer of 1974, Silkwood testified before a commission about serious violations of health and safety regulations, including evidence of leaks, falsified inspection reports, and even missing plutonium. Within months, strange occurrences began to occur. She was exposed to dangerous levels of plutonium, despite not having handled any hazardous materials. Then, plutonium was found in her lungs. Silkwood believed she was being deliberately contaminated. By November 13, she decided to go public and was to meet with a union representative and a New York Times reporter. She grabbed her file of evidentiary documents and proceeded to the meeting when her car went off the road and she was killed. Even though dents and scratches on her rear bumper pointed to her vehicle being pushed off the road, the investigation ruled that she had fallen asleep at the wheel. Her documents were never found in the wreckage. The publicity surrounding Silkwood's death led to a federal investigation. Many of her allegations were proven true. Carnegie closed Cimarron in 1975, and subsequently paid her family $1.38 million as a settlement. 12. The mysterious plaster cast. In 1963, Harlan Ford and his friend, Billy Mills, were deep in the Honey Island swamp of Louisiana. They were searching for an old cabin they spotted overhead by plane. When they reached a clearing, what they found has shocked and haunted the area ever since. The duo spotted some type of animal, standing upright. The creature made eye contact momentarily before rapidly escaping into the underbrush. Later, in 1974, Ford and Mills returned to the area for some duck hunting. They found several dead boars with torn throats. They suspected the creature they had previously sighted was in the area. Around the boards, they found several footprints, four-toed and appearing webbed. Not wanting to encounter the creature again, they left the area quickly but returned later to make a cast of the prints. One of those original prints sits at the Albeida Mystery House, in Albeida Springs, Louisiana, just 25 miles from the mysterious swamp. Ford was the first man to report a sighting of the creature, dubbed the Honey Island Swamp Monster. He certainly wouldn't be the last. Another local, Ted Williams, reported seeing the creature numerous times. One day, Williams ventured into the swamp to set trout lines and was never seen again. Witnesses claim the creature is approximately 7 feet tall, weighing about 500 pounds, covered in a thick coat of dark matted fur and swamp weed. It has large yellow eyes and emits an incredibly bad stench. University zoologists have examined the plaster cast and are at a loss for what the creature might actually be. Is this actually a cast of some as of yet undiscovered creature living in the dark swamplands, which have remained virtually unchanged for thousands of years? 11. Jersey Devil plaster cast. Displayed in the popular International Cryptozoology Museum in Portland, Maine, is a curious artifact, a plaster cast, measuring 20 inches long, 8 inches across, with dark shapes at each end that appear like a large C. Some people believe this cast is evidence of dreadful encounters and a fearful legend. It all began in January 1909, in Trenton, New Jersey. In the early morning hours, a respected city official, E.P. Wheaton, is awoken by a loud flapping noise outside his second-floor window. He looks outside and sees a curious set of hoof prints on the ledge, similar to those of a horse. But how could a horse leave prints on a roof? Over the next days and weeks, several others report finding the eerie prints, one of which was cast in plaster and now resides at this Portland museum. Over 1,000 people, from New Jersey to Pennsylvania, begin reporting the hoof prints. Finally, on January 17, 1909, Bristol, Pennsylvania police officer, James Sackville catches sight of what is leaving the prints. Sackville was patrolling the streets when he hears a pack of dogs barking uncontrollably. He looks off into the distance and sees a shadowy figure that then lets of a sharp scream. The figure then leaps up and flies off into the night, allowing Sackville only a brief glimpse of the creature's appearance. He described large wings, a hairy body, and a face that appeared like a horse or deer. He said it had hooves and horns. The legend of the Jersey Devil was born. Over the century, others have claimed to see the creature, but this cast, from the original 1909 sightings, remains evidence of something truly remarkable that occurred that icy winter. 10. Damascus Missile. The Titan II Launch Complex 374-7 is located in Van Buren County, just north of Damascus, Arkansas. It is the site of the most publicized disaster involving a Titan II nuclear missile. It was September 19, 1980, around 6:30 p.m., routine maintenance was being conducted on a Titan II ICBM missile. A U.S. Air Force repairman dropped a heavy wrench socket, which fell toward the bottom of the missile silo. The socket struck the missile, causing a leak from a pressurized fuel tank. The missile complex and the surrounding area were immediately evacuated and a team of specialists were called in from Little Rock Air Force Base, the missile's main support station. About 8 hours after the leak began, the leaking fumes ignited and exploded, destroying the silo and killing one airman. 21 other Air Force personnel were injured. The missile's nuclear warhead was blown clear and was recovered intact. The explosion was so powerful that it blew off the 740-ton silo door of reinforced concrete and steel over 200 feet into the air and hurled the 9-megaton nuclear warhead 600 feet. Safeguards operated correctly and tests revealed that there was no radioactive contamination. In October 1980, cleanup operations began and tons of debris was gathered from over 400 acres surrounding the silo complex. Some of the debris resides now at the Jacksonville Museum of Military History, in Arkansas. It is a constant reminder of the tragedy that almost was, and the brave men and women that worked to divert it. The Air Force sealed the complex with soil, gravel, and concrete debris. The site of the former missile complex was listed in the National Register of Historic Places on February 18, 2000. 9. A haunting in Connecticut. You might have seen the 2009 movie. It's a terrifying story and is based on an ever scarier book. However, did you know they are both loosely based on an actual investigation that took place in Southington, Connecticut, in 1986? The Snedeker family moved from upstate New York to 208 Meriden Avenue in Southington on June 30, 1986. They relocated to be near the University of Connecticut Health Center for their son's cancer treatments. Strange and horrifying occurrences begin to take place, mop water tuning bloody red, dishes on a set table miraculously disappearing only to be found put away, lights flickering even though the sockets were missing bulbs, ghostly apparitions, and family members being physically assaulted. It seems outrageous and the family wanted answers. In 1988, they called in paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren, along with researcher John Zaffis, to help determine what was happening. They discovered that the family's new home was once the Hallahan Funeral Home, and the funeral workers were rumored to be necrophiliacs. This is believed to have led to a malevolent presence. The investigators spent 9 weeks investigating the former funeral home. Eventually, on September 6, 1988, the Warrens called for and received one of the last formal exorcisms endorsed by the Catholic Church. According to Zaffi, during the exorcism on the house, a small statuette of the Virgin Mary was sitting nearby. After the exorcism, the priest noticed that the hands of the statuette had melted off during the ceremony. The exorcism appeared to have been a success as no more demonic activities have been reported and a new family now resides, problem-free, in the home. The Virgin Mary statuette with the melted hands now resides at Zaffi's Paranormal Museum in Adams, Massachusetts.